Okay, Shalom Aleichem, first of all. We're starting with the Gemara, still Lamed Beis on the Beis on the bottom. We learned last week the halacha Talib Makel, and all this, it's concluded with that. So going back to that statement, Amr Yehuda Amr Shmuel, Talib Makel Psula, my time b'Shirach Binan. Tanya Nami Hachi, we also bring a brisa, a raya to Shmuel, Talib Makel Oshanicha Achar Adelis, Sakana of Ein Mitzvah. So we're going to focus today on this, right now, on this halacha of Achar Adelis. Now the pashtus is that means you put the mezuzah on the other side of the doorway, walking in. As opposed to in front of the door, you put it behind the door. And the brisa puts together this halacha with the halacha of Talib Makel, which we learned last week as a psul b'diavad. So if the brisa puts it together, but pashtus, achar adelis also, you're not yotzei at all. If the mezuzah is not put in front of the delis, but rather behind the delis. And Rashi also learns that it's makeh b'diavad because by both things, Rashi says, Ein mishtamer ba ad shikvena b'tzuras pesach kilchasa. There's no shmira from the mazikin until it's put out properly kilchasa. So you see clearly from Rashi that this din is also b'diavad ma'akev. You're not kosher even b'diavad, just like the first din of Talib Makel. By both of them, there's no shmirim and mazikin, which means you're not yotzei at all. And that's Lafuke Shittas HaTosfos, which Tosfos learns over here that on both of them, Sakana Be'en Mitzvah, the Lashon and Brisa is going on both of them, and he says that just like Talib Makel, also Me'achar Adelis, it's sticking out in the back and you don't notice it. When you walk in, it's not in front of you, then you can bang your head on it. So the Sakana is only beside banging your head, but it's not really a Sakana of not having Mazikin. You really are Yotzei B'diavad according to Tosfos. It comes out of very soda stick and lachogos in Rashi and Tosfos whether this din is makeh b'diavad. So the Tosfos will be learning that the pshat in the brisa is when it says sakana, the ein ba mitzvah, the lashon ein ba mitzvah just means that it's not chatchila, but it doesn't say beferish the words puzzle. That's the way Tosfos is going to be learning. The Rambam, however, the Rambam's lashon is Tali of Makel Sula She'en Zu Kviya. As we learned last week that the Tali of Makel is missing in Kviyus. It's not considered Kavua. It's just hanging or dangling by a string or only by one nail. Then he goes on, this is Perek Hei Halacha Ches in Tosfos Mezuzah. Inicha Achari Adelis La'asa Klum. You did nothing. So the Rambam sees there's a very strong lashon of the Rambam, lo asa klum, you did nothing. So, and also we have to understand why does the Rambam split it up? If they're all in the same brisa, the brisas call the two together. So why does Rambam change the lashon between Talib Makel and this din of Achar Adelis? So you could say possibly is that the din, like we said last week, the din Talib Makel, according to the Rambam, is that it really is in Bisharecha. It's in the main spot. It's your L'chora Makayim the Etzim Din is your Bisharecha. Just missing a Tanai for the mitzvah, stipulation that has to be Kavua. Masha'en Ken, by Achari Adelis, Rambam says Lo Asa Klum because it's completely outside of the Mokum. It's not even considered Bisharecha at all. It's completely outside of the Mokum of L'chiyuv. So it's not even Bisharecha at all. That's why Lo Asa Klum, the Rambam is emphasizing you did absolutely nothing. And that would fit into the lashon of the Rambam later on. The Rambam in Perek Vav Halacha Yud Beis says V'heichan koven is a mezuzah b'toch halal haPesach tevach hasamach l'chutz tchila shush elyon shal go b'hashar. So the Rambam mentions that the place of kaviyas mezuzah is, he only mentions inside the halal haPesach. So halal haPesach, but so the Rambam doesn't mention b'chalal. There's a makom you could put it outside the halal haPesach. So mashma even b'diavad, you're not yotzei if it's outside of the halal haPesach, according to the Rambam. That's why That would be the reason why over here by us, he's saying, Lo asa klum, you did absolutely nothing. If it's me'achari adelis and behind the door, meaning outside of the halal pesach, then you did absolutely nothing. There are those who want to, I think the Aruch HaShulchan wants to be nidchak in Lashon Rambam to say that when he says Lo asa klum, it's a strange Lashon for the Rambam to say. He doesn't say pasal. So he wants to say the opposite, that the first din is ma'akev, kliya b'ma'akev is ma'akev, but this din is not ma'akev. He's just saying you didn't do it properly. Lo asa klum means you didn't fulfill Hashem's will properly, but you are yotzei. But Rov Poskim hold not that way in the Rambam. They all hold that you're not yotzei at all. You're not yotzei anything by achori adelis. So the lesson of Rashi, back by us, Rashi said sheinicha achori adelis shekava b'kosel achori adelis. You put it on the wall achori adelis. What is Rashi coming to tell us by hinicha b'kosel? You put it on the wall. So according to, there's a tshuva from Rabbi Leib Malin and his Sefer Chedushim, I think it's in Men Test, if I'm not mistaken, that he wants to learn a chiddush that for sure, according to Rashi, you are yotzei as long as it's within a tefach of the halal pesach. In other words, you have the doorway, and you have the door opens out this way, and you walk in, and you have on the side you have the frame of the door, and you put it on the al kosel means that the time that you're not yotzei is only the hinicha b'kosel. To put it, what's considered the kosel, that's what's puzzle. Mashenkin, if it's within a tefach of the door, that's not called kosel. Anything that's within a tefach is still called the door itself. That's his chiddush, and he doesn't say why, but the pashas you see, like he's saying that there's a din of a tefach. This is going to come back a number of times throughout Hilchos Mezuzah. There's a special halacha of tefach that whenever something's within a tefach of another area, it's considered part of that first area, and the area extends the tefach. We see this from a couple of halachas, such as if you, the Gemara says, if you put the mezuzah on the door, but you dug out in the door, in the side of the door, you dug out the place of the mezuzah, put it in. As long as that hole that you dug out is less than a tefach, then it's still kosher. Then within a tefach, the mezuzah belongs to the sides of the door. If it goes further than a tefach, then it's already in the wall, no longer in the doorway. And similarly, the Gemara says, another member, that if you tala lavena, if you put a brick over the mezuzah, and that brick becomes part of you cement it in, so that brick becomes part of the doorway there. As long as the brick is less than a tefach thick, then the mezuzah is still shy to the doorway. So in essence, it still has less than a tefach from the halal pesach, from the opening to the mezuzah. So we see that there's a svara of a tefach. Why tefach? Maybe because we find, like in Hilchos Tumah V'Tara, that a tefach is considered a makom chashuv, gabe din tumah etzutza, and other dinei tumah. As long as it's poseach tefach, then it holds the tumah in. It's considered a makom chashuv, or also by a gag for a sukkah, if you have or by erevin, if you had already a gag that's a tefach, you can extend it because the tefach is already considered a makom chashuv. So you see many places in Shas that a tefach is a makom chashuv, and it sounds like that Rav Leib is learning over here, Leib Malin, that hu adin, by this din of a achari adelis and this din of a halal pesach, that if the achari adelis, it's only considered behind the door if it goes further extended past the tefach, and that's what Rashi calls ala kosel. Before that, within the tefach is called the delis. After the tefach is called the kosel. That's his chiddush. He says that it's going to be bein lekula, bein lekomra. Bein lekula, meaning even if there's no wooden panel that goes outside on the other side of the door, that the whole wooden panel, let's say it's only inside, or the door is attached to the middle, just to screws in the middle or something, and there's nothing about there's no wooden panel at all. As long as it's within a tefach, then it's still considered within the halal pesach, or to Rashi. And also l'chumra, he says that if you do have wooden extensions, you have like a thick wood piece like we do sometimes in the doorway, and then the panels, and they go also from the front and the back, like often they do, mostly they do. And even if that panel extends further than a tefach, and obviously that panel still belongs to the door, But he says also we say the tefach l'chumra, that even if it extends, even if you have the extension of the wood, it still has to be within a tefach there. It goes past the tefach, it's considered a kosel no matter what. So that's the way he understands Rashi. The Nishmas Adam, the Chai Adam, he also agrees with the blade that if the shear is going to be kosher acharei adelis to a tefach, but not, that's only going to be if it's on a piece of wood that belongs to the door. And what Rashi means, kapshuto, ala koso, means if there's just a wall there, even if it's within a tefach, if it's only a wall and not the molding from the door, then it's puzzle even though it's within a tefach. And that's what Rov Poskim seem to be going, that not like a B'lei Malin. That it's not, we need two Tanaim. We need a Tanai of a tefach within a tefach to be kosher, not be considered kosel, and you need also that it's considered on the wood, it's on the wood panel and not actually physically on the kosel, and in that case it's okay, according to the Chai Adam. Now the Maisa will come out that the main machlokus, the Rashi is this can only make it puzzle when it's on the kosel, Fuke on the delis. With the Rambam, however, says you need the halal pesach mamish. That's the mamish be on the halal, and anything me'achorei delis will be puzzle. So then the machlokas Rashi and the Rambam will be, according to most poskim, and like the Chai Adam and most poskim will be, if it's on that tefach, which is on the molding of the door, on around the bend, which is attached to the wall on the other side. So within that tefach, that's the machlokas between Rashi and the Rambam. According to Rashi, that would be kosher. Within a tefach, according to Rambam, that is also a puzzle. That's how most poskim take on, that we have this machlokas. So we have to understand then the nekudas machlokas between the Rashi and the Rambam. What is this machlokas based on? So what I think you could say is that Rashi and the Rambam are the shitasan. Each one is going according to the shita in another place. That according to Rashi, and we're going to see this coming up again and again, a door is chayav and a mezuzah midaraisa, and Rov Poskim are like Rashi, Rov Rishonim like Rashi. A door is chayav even if there's no doorway, there's no actual door. There's no physical door there. There's just a doorway. There's just an opening. Then that's chayav midaraisa. Whereas according to the Rambam, we'll see why later on, we learn later sugyas, the Rambam learns that a Pesach without a door, an actual opening and closing door, is pater midaraisa. And we don't even find that he says you're chayav midarabanan. So if you just have an open cut door, even if it has a frame around it, so you have two sides and a top, but according to the Rambam, there's no actual opening and closing door like sometimes you have just passing through two rooms, like in the kitchen or whatever. Then that door, according to the Rambam, is pater bein midaraisa bein midarabanan. We'll see again later on a little bit more why, but the Rambam holds that the door is mamish a ma'akev in the chiyuv deraisa, and chiyuv completely. There's no chiyuv at all according to the Rambam. So maybe you could say possibly that that's the machlokas Rashi and the Rambam over here. That in order to say that within the tefach is considered still part of the Pesach, in other words, going around the bend within the tefach is still considered within the halal, like the Chai Adam says, then that's only possible. We like we said before, we learned that from the fact that if you dig into the doorway up to a tefach, also you're still considered within the door. So the Pashas, they're learning in Rashi that it's no worse if you dig in up to a tefach it's considered in the doorway than if you put it right around within a tefach that it's within the doorway. It's all considered within a tefach of the opening. So that you can only say if you hold that what's a machayev you is just the pure opening. Then you can extend that opening up to a tefach. That's still called part of the makom, less than a makom chashuv away from it. Masha'inkin, if you hold that, and that's how Rashi holds that it's still kosher up to a tefach, because you don't need the door. But according to the Rambam, that's machaya from mezuzah is the Pesach plus a doorway, an actual door that opens and closes. You need that as a tanai in the chiyuv. That's a chalos shem shar of a gate is only when there's a door there. So then it's very difficult to hear that once you get outside of the halal that it any longer belongs to the doorway, to the actual door. If it's just the doorway, the Pesach, you can hear that. But if you need for it to be the mezuzah, the chiyuv of the mezuzah is an actual opening and closing door. It's very difficult to hear that once you get outside of the halal where the door opens and closes, that it belongs to that halal anymore at all. And that's the reason why the Rambam says there's pasal agamri. That'll be the pshat in the Rambam. So now the Relay Malin says another chiddush that he wants to say, according to the Rambam, that Achari Adelis is pasal. He wants to be mechadish that's true even if it's within the halal of Pesach. For example, sometimes you have a door. I'm looking at one right now in my office that the door opens up into my office, and let's say to walk out, so that the behind the door is where the space would be that I put the mezuzah. And it's like that many times. But that space is within the halal of the Pesach. It's still within the framework of the frame of the door frame. So Relay Malin says that even though it's within the door frame, if it's behind the door, it's still pasal according to the Rambam. So he wants to learn it's a din biyaska. We have a drasha later on that biyaska, that it has to be, it says beiska. Al mezuzas beisecha, the Gemara says derech biyaska, the way you come in. And so that would be the sod of the psul of the Rambam will be because it's missing in derech biyah. That's the way Relay learns. When Mela, if it's behind the door, even though it's within the halal of Pesach, he says it's still pasal because it's not derech biyah. It's not the way you come in. It's behind the way you come in. It's not the way you come in. That's how he learns, and it's a tremendous chumrah. Because of that, he has a big tzarach iyun. Let's say the only place to put the mezuzah, you have two choices. Either put it, like I said, behind the door within the halal, which is a problem of mechor adelis according to the Rambam, or you could put it on the door frame on the outside of the door. It won't be in the halal of Pesach, but it is on the way in. You will see it when you come in. But the problem with that is that some other poskim say anything that's outside the halal is pasal. So where should you put it? So he remains tzarach and gadol. He remains very dubious. He doesn't know what to say. But I think halacha l'maisa, it's pashut that we would put it within the halal, behind the door. Because I heard from Shmuel first to Shem Moshe Zatzal that anything that's within the halal of Pesach, within the framework of the door, that's for sure not yet in the category of mechor adelis, even according to the Rambam. It's not called mechor adelis at all. So therefore, it's pashut that that's where we should put it, not on the frame on the way in, where it's outside the halal Pesach, because there you do have poskim that make it pasal. But if we say not like Rav Moshe, not like Rav Malin, the Chori has a good taina. The Chori Adelis is a psul in biyaska. Why is it okay within the halal? So I think what we have to say is that the reason the Rambam says it's pasal is not because derech biyaska. That's not the problem with Chori Adelis. The problem is the Rambam himself in Perek Vav Halacha Yud Beis, like I mentioned before, it says Heichan Koven is a mezuzah, batoch halal Pesach. The Rambam holds that is the only place you can be kovei mezuzahs within the halal Pesach. Anything outside of the halal is pasal, according to the Rambam. So then, according to that, it really shouldn't make a difference, according to the Rambam, whether it's not only mechor adelis should be pasal if it's outside the halal, also before the delis it should be pasal if it's outside the halal. Anything not within the halal is pasal according to the Rambam. And the Shulchan Aruch actually quotes the Rambam. So we'll see in a minute whether everyone agrees to that or not. But the Shittas of Rambam, the Shulchan Aruch, seems to be that anything outside the halal is pasal. And that'll be the yesod of Rav Moshe's psak, that as long as it's within the halal, then it's not the problem of Achori Adelis. The only one that distinguishes between outside the halal in the Rambam, whether it's behind the door or in front of the door, is the Maharsham. The Maharsham also learns, like Relay Malin, that it's a problem of derech biyaska, and so therefore, if it's on the front of the doorway, outside the halal, but you see it as you come in, then that's not a psul of biyaska because it's right there. It's only on the opposite side. If you put on the back frame of the door, then it's missing in biyaska. That's what the Marsham learns, and he brings rayas from Kachim, from different Dinei Kachim. But like I mentioned before, Rav Moshe holds that according to the Rambam, Me'achorei Delis, anything inside the Delis is kosher because it's nothing to do with Bielska. It has to do with being in the halal itself. It's a din that the door is mechayev, like we said, the doorway plus the door itself is mechayev. So anything that belongs to the door, which is within the halal, then that's kosher according to the Rambam. So that's but anything outside the halal could be a problem in the Rambam. So this is all according to the Rashi and the Rambam. But if we take a look at the Tur, the Tur tells us a tremendous kiddush. The Tur in beginning of Reish Pei Tes and Sif Beis goes through all these halachas. He talks about he starts off Eza Makoma b'mezuzah Pesach Yamini. You have to put it on the right side of the door, the way you come in. And then he says there's another halacha we'll learn soon, not today, but it has to be from the upper third of the door. You shouldn't put it below that. And then he says, if you put it me'achorei delis, ein ze mitzvasa. So he has, actually, there's another halacha here that also has to be a tefach, a samach l'chutz, which we'll learn again soon. So these three halachas, which the Torah says that it has to be in the upper third, and it has to be in the tefach outside the closest tefach we come in. And number three, that it shouldn't be achorei delis. The Torah brings all these three halachas down. Then he says, v'nira shimshina be'ela makomos ina ma'akev. If you change any of these halachas, it's not ma'akev. Rak shetiya b'tzad yamin labia shim l'kava b'tzad yamin labia v'adei ma'akev. The only thing that's ma'akev is on the right side when you come in. But if it's even below the upper third, and we're going to see many are cholak on the Torah, but the Torah says it's below the upper third, or it's not within the first tefach, or it's me'achorei delis, all these things are not ma'akev b'diavad. So the Beis Yosef points out because the Torah is medayek that all these halachas, it says halacha lashon of mitzvah. It doesn't say lashon pasol, but it says, for example, it says the next Gemara coming up. It says mitzvah lanicha toch halal shel Pesach. It's a mitzvah to put it within the halal of Pesach. That's the next Gemara coming up by us. And by all these halachas, there's the lashon of mitzvah. So Beis Yosef says the Torah is medayek lashon mitzvah, but it's a mitzvah to do it. It's a mitzvah hatchila, but b'diavad you're still yotzei. B'diavad it's not ma'akev. That's the tremendous chiddush in the Torah in Beis Yosef. So according to
is that an issue with what we said in the Gemara? Because like in the Gemara we said Shmuel said talab b'makel is psula.
And then very good, excellent. No, so talab b'makel is not attached at all. So you're right, talab b'makel. The question is not from talab b'makel because that we know is possible. The question is that the Brisa seems to put those two together.
Right.
Talab b'makel together with hinichach haradelis. So the Chayyim and the Nishmas Adam discusses that at length and proves that the Torah had a different girsa in that brisa, that the two are not really put together. And it seems like the Rambam himself might have had a different girsa because the fact that the Rambam separated it and said that by Makel it said psula, and by the second din by achorei delis he said lo asa klum. So it sounds like maybe the Rambam also, I don't know if he had it in the same brisa or not, because it's not like the Rambam to take one state. He always goes with Lashon Gemara. So for the Rambam to change Lashon Gemara like that is very strange. So possible he had another girsa as well.
Okay.
That's a great question. That's the Chayyim raises that question. It should be the obvious question. We should all scream, how could you say it's not ma'akev? We have a brisa that just said that it is. But we have to say there's another girsa. And now, so the Torah comes out that it's not ma'akev. So now, the question is the halacha l'maisa. So we have over here, according to Rashi and the Rambam, it's ma'akev, the din achorei delis. We have a Torah that says that it's not ma'akev because it's just lashon mitzvah. And Tosas also learned that it's not ma'akev because it's the Torah. Tosas said it's just going to bang your head, but it's not really ma'akev. In a mitzvah doesn't mean it's not a mitzvah at all. It just means you're not doing it properly, the ideal way. The question is, what do we hold l'maisa? So take a look at the Shulchan Aruch in Reish Pei Tes Sif Beis. The Shulchan Aruch himself seems to go not with the Tur. He seems to hold that it's ma'akev, because he says clearly, "Ezun makam kviyasa toch halal shel Pesach b'tefach hasamach l'chutz." So the Shulchan Aruch seems to learn that two things. Number one, it has to be in the halal, and that has to be an outside tefach. We'll go more into that later when we get to that sugya, that the tefach. But it's mashal from the Shulchan Aruch to put those two together, that they're both ma'akev. Tocha halal pesach like the Rambam, and tefach hasamach, which we'll get to that. It's a whole discussion in the Achronim whether it's tefach hasamach l'chutz is also a din d'oraisa or not. Now the Ramah says v'in shina ena ma'akev, b'vad she'enichena mezuzah atzma. He says that if you're mishana these dinim, it's not ma'akev as long as you put it on the mezuzah itself. So you have to know, what does that mean on the mezuzah itself? And in shina la ma'akev, it seems that the Ramah is quoting the Tur, which will mean that the din of halal pesach is not ma'akev, and as long as it's on the right side, even if it's outside of the halal a little bit, we'll call it with tocha tefach. And so just like the tefach hasamach is not ma'akev, the Ramah seems to be going on also the first din. And then afterwards the Ramah says, the Shulchan Aruch says, "B'tchila shlish elyon gova shar." Now the Ramah wrote his din of ena ma'akev before the Shulchan Aruch wrote the din of shlish elyon. So mashma that the Ramah is quoting the Tur only on the first two dinim, not on the din of shlish elyon. That's the diuk of the Taz right here in Sifkat and Gimel. That the Ramah is saying these dinim are only l'chatchila. He wrote that before shlish elyon because he holds that shlish elyon that is ma'akev. We'll get to that as well. It's a shame we get to later sugyas. The reason I'm bringing this down now is because the Taz is learning in the Ramah that the din ena ma'akev is going on both dinim before it, tefach hasamach, and also halal pesach. That's also not ma'akev. So it comes out the Ramah is being cholik on the Shulchan Aruch was put in the Rambam and holds that it's still kosher outside of halal pesach. That's what it would seem to be what the Ramah is saying. The Shach in Sifkat and Gimel brings a machlokas. He says, "Shinin in ma'akev v'afilu hinicha achar yadelas sher b'diavad kemash v'tur ken nir das harav." He says that is what the Torah says, and that seems to be also the pshat in the Ramah, because he puts the two together. He says, "Aval das and Yosef Rambam nira de psula in pasuk beis Yosef, but the kakos havel lavush." The ayin tes zayin stands for a terazav. That's lavush. Lavush is a talmud of the Ramah, and the lavush learned in the Ramah that the Ramah only said ena ma'akev on the second din. It's not going on both dinim. It's only going on the din of tefach hasamach l'chutz. It's not going on the din of halal. But that the lavush says the Ramah agrees to the Beis Yosef, who's like the Nuki Yosef in the Rambam, that outside the halal pesach it's puzzle. Hilkach yesh laksor l'takno kohogen. According to Lavush, if you have it outside of the halal, if you accidentally put it there, you should take it off and put it back in where it belongs. The Sefer Madani Melech Kosav the Hanu Batim Apsuchim l'Rachov Oda Kochavim Menichim Pneiken Mezuzas Achoria Delis Yesh L'Mam Lismoku Al Divrei Atur Varav. So the Shach is paskening Madani Melech, which it's really by us in our rush. It's called the Madani Yom Tov, written by the author of the Tosas Yom Tov, and it's one of the most esoteric poskim. It's parish on the rush, and so he says there he talks to a shaila. He's discussing a shaila there about many places back in the day. It was a sakana to put your mezuzah outside your door in a place that was nicker. It'll probably get stolen by the goyim, or maybe even worse. So they, instead of putting it outside where it's seen, they would put it me'acharia delis, right on the door frame, right inside the door. The shalas of the yotzer are not that way. So the Madani Melech says yes, and he learns Pshat in the Ramah. He's somewhat on the tour and on also in Shitas Rashi. The way they learn Rashi, like we mentioned before, that according to Rashi, it's only possible if it's on the Kosel. And the Madani Melech, the Madani Yom Tov, like the Chayoram, they learn. He's quoting him actually. He's quoting the Madani Melech. They learn in Rashi that Kosel means Kosel Mamish, but if it's on the door frame within a tefach, then you're still Yotzei. It's not called a Chayadel, it still belongs to the door. So the Shach, the way he's learning Shat in the Ramah, he disagrees with the Levush. According to the Levush, the Ramah is only saying it on tefach asamach b'chutz, but the din Chalal Pesach and Chayadel also be Pasal Lagamre, according to the Levush in the Ramah. But the Shach disagrees and holds that Pshat is like the Madan Yom Tov, that as long as it's on the door frame within a tefach, inside it's still kosher. And therefore, these people that have the problem with the Goyim, they have Hudu Samachan. They have Almi Lisnoch. Just to add a point of lumbus is that from this psak, and that's also the psak of the like Chayaram, like we mentioned, and it's based on this Rashi that it's only possible if it's on the wall itself. And the Aruch HaShulchan learns this way as well. We have many poskim that learn this way. Rav Chaim Kanievsky and others write that Rova poskim hold that outside the Chalal Pesach, no matter what, it's Pasal Lagamri. It's a chiddush, but the Gedolei poskim that we're learning, that we're seeing with the Shach, with the Ramah, and we see the Taz learn that way as well, because the Taz said clearly that the Ramah holds that also the first din is not ma'akev. The Ramah only meant to exclude the third din, which is the Shlish Elyon. The first two dinim, the Ramah put the words of the Torah after that, and holds it's only the mitzvah, but not ma'akev by both dinim, which is whether tefach hasabel chutz, and also as long as it's within a tefach, within the outside the halal, as long as it's mezuzah atzma. What does the Ramah mean? How do you understand the Ramah? The Ramah says that in a ma'akev bilvad shia nechena mezuzah atzma. How could that be? If it's me'achor yadelas, how could it be mezuzah atzma? Ella, you see, the Ramah that's muchach from the Ramah is learning like the Chayarim said that as long as it's on the door frame, that's called mezuzah atzma, as long as it's within a tefach. So all these poskim, which is now Pashas the Ramah and the Shach and the Taz and many other Gdolah poskim, are all learning this way in the Ramah. So we definitely have who to rely upon with Shasat Chak to be able to put it also around the door, on the door frame, if need be. Now, where is this? We don't have Baruch Hashem today. You never know from day to day. We have to keep our eyes open. But right now, Baruch Hashem, it's not a sakana for us to put mezuzahs in the doorway. We're not worried about them breaking them off or stealing them or anything like that. But it could be very nagea though by doors. Where this shala usually comes up is by doors where the mezuzah does not fit in the door frame, such as sliding doors. A lot of sliding doors, there's no way to put it within the door frame. It's going to smash. You can't put it there. And another case where it's very prevalent is if you have a backyard that has a fence, and the doorway to the fence, like by us in the house, we have a fence. It's fenced in, and then there's a doorway in the front to get into the courtyard, and then there's another door in the back which takes stuff out to the garbage cans out there, and the door is right next to all the garbage cans. So if the doorway is usually the fence is only not so thick, so in the door there's nowhere to put the mezuzah in the door within the halal of the Pesach. Again, it's going to be chayav if it has a top as well. It has to have a mashkof. There's two sides and a mashkof in the fence, so then that becomes chayav. Pashas is chayav deraisa, because that's the way to get into the house through the chutzner. That's called a chutzner now. But it's not enough room to put the mezuzah on the actual halal, because the door is going to close right into it. So where do you put it? So according to this, now by me, I didn't want to put it on the way in. To be somewhat honest, to put it on the way in, because then you're also marviach the marsham holds that it's totally fine on the way in, because that's right next to the garbage cans. So I felt that's not there covered to put it there. To say it's ma'akiv there doesn't mean mezuzah at all. It's like we're going to learn later on that in sugas in Yuma, makom tinofis, places are considered filthy, bathhouses and things like that. So they're pater from mezuzah. But today's garbage cans that they're big, they're big and they're thick, so they don't really absorb. And Rav Elyashiv held that they don't really absorb, so they don't become like a abit shel meirag lime, and also they're more than 10 tefachim high, so they form a mechitza around the garbage. So all there is some reach, and the reach is not necessarily going to pass from mezuzah. So, but still, so the door generally needs mezuzah, but I think it's not there covered to put it right there. So I could put it right on the other side, and we have all these poskim to be summertime that it's no different than with the mezuzah will be stolen. Also, it's another reason not to put it there that you can put it miachari adelis. And the ideal thing to do, though, as Shmuel first said, and also I said on other contemporaries forum, they say that in this case, where let's say the sliding door or any kind of doorway that you don't have enough room to put the mezuzah in the halal, the ideal thing to do is you hire somebody to come and dig out a little bit of space, just to gouge out some of the space there. You could do that in the fence, or you could do that also in the doorway of your house. Or even if it's metal, sometimes it's not such a big deal for them to come and drill out some space, and you can put the mezuzah inside there. That's for sure the ideal thing to do, because then you'd say l'chol deis, l'chol shitas. But in the meantime, or if you're not able to do that, or at least in the meantime until you do it, then could I put the mezuzah up within a tefach of the doorway where the door slides, or within a tefach of the back of the door of the fence, or the front of the door of the fence, whichever case may be. So that's where this is very negea halakha l'maisa, by all the doors that you don't have room to put the mezuzah inside the halal pesach. That again, according to the Rambam, maybe you're not yet say at all, but or maybe you are, depending. But certainly according to the Ramah and the Tur, the Ramah, the Shach and the Taz and the Chai Adam and the Aruch HaShulchan, then you're for sure Yotzei. The Taz even says another fascinating thing. The Taz says words that in Sifkat and Gimel, in Ois Gimel, he says that Acharia Delis Einam Akib B'Diavad Lo Ashkechan Man B'Poligazeh. This din that Acharia Delis is not Ma'akib B'Diavad, we don't find anybody who disagrees with that. Pretty strong statement. The Nekudas HaKesef from the Shach, right away asked, what do you mean? The Rambam says it's possible. How can you say nobody apostles it? Acharia Delis. So they answer, the contemporaries forum answer, that we see from here a raya that the Taz held like the Chayyim, but even stronger than the Chayyim. The Chayyim said, according to Rashi, who's medayek, that Rashi says kosel, the fuke, if it's on the door frame within the tefach, then it's still kosher. He wanted to say some Machos Rashi and Rambam, we can be Samach and Rashi, but yeah, the Taz learns like that so strongly that he holds even the Rambam would agree to that. Even the Rambam that says it's possible, it's only going to be if you put it on the wall, not on a door frame. So that's another smach to be samachan that the Taz holds it so strongly that he holds, even the Rambam says it's kosher as long as it's on the door frame right around the bend. So that's another smach. That's one nakuda. Going a little further in the Gemara, where it says, Amar Yehuda Shmuel, mitzvah la'anicha b'soch halal shel Pesach. It's a mitzvah to put it within the halal. So these are the words of the Torah's medayek that it's only a mitzvah and it's not ma'akev. Shita b'sharecha amar Rachmana. It's pasha has to be there. That says b'sharecha, in the shar. Where else would you think? You might have thought, Hov Amar Rava, mitzvah la'anicha b'tefach, asamach l'shus rabim. Since the Rava says, we're going to learn this also in Amud Beis, we'll go more into it, that it's a mitzvah to put it on the tefach asamach l'shus rabim. Kama the marchik mali. The closer you bring it out, the better. Even if it's outside the doorway, it's better. What are the reasons the Rava said that? The Gemara in Amud Beis says two reasons the Rava said it. Tefach hasamach. Either it's because that she pug up a mitzvah tchila. As soon as you get to the doorway, you should right away strike the mitzvah. You should right away have the mitzvah and not have it pushed off at all, even a tefach. And the other side is because of mazikin, the shmir mazikin. That the further out the mitzvah is, the more it's shomer the bias for mazikin. So for those two reasons, we might have thought that it's better to put it on the outside of the door. Kamash Malan, not. But that's the Chorah Pella. Why would these reasons of pagam mitzvah or you should be shmiring and zikin. Why should that have a reason to take it outside of the ikar din? There was pshita that it's supposed to be in the halal. Is that a strong enough reason to take it out of the halal? So Rav David Soloveitchik says that the Salkadaitik of the Gemara was that the chalos of the mezuzah should be on the entire Pesach. The only way it could be on the entirety of the Pesach would be if it's a little bit outside the Pesach. And then the shmira and everything in the mezuzah is chal on the entire sharecha, on the entire shar. That was the Havamina. Kamash Malan, that it doesn't override the pashtus of a sharecha, which means bisharecha inside the shar. That's what he learns. Now, I just want to point out that you can understand that shakavitarya if you hold like the Tur, that mitzvah lenicha means only mitzvah, not makkah b'di'evid. If you learn like the Rambam, that it's makkah b'di'evid, like the Rambam in the Shulchan Aruch, that b'sarecha halal pesach is makkah b'di'evid, so the chloretz a pella, how can we have a havamina that because of the extra sforas of shmira or whatever, or pagam b'tzatila, you would think that was a reason to take it outside the halal where it's mamish ma'akid. And to say that that's goof of the shakavitarya, the havamina was that it's really not makkah b'di'evid, and therefore I should put it out the outside. Kamash Malan, no, we should keep it in the halal because it is makkah b'di'evid. Say that's really what's going on, but behind the scenes, to me that's a pellet. It would be ikar chasam in a sefer that they're not speaking out the ikar diyun over here, whether or not halal is makkah or not. So I just want to say that I understand well the shakavitarya according to the Tur. But maybe that's part of the raya of the Torah. Otherwise, how can there be such a havamina to do it? Maybe that's part of his raya that mitzvah means not makkah b'di'evid, and we might have thought that this overrides this mitzvah l'chatchila to do it on the outside with the other stores. Kamash Malan, it doesn't. But according to the Rambam and those that's makkah, it's as far as the pella. I remain with Sarach Iyun how to understand this havamina of the Gemara. We're going to skip the next piece of Gemara of Kosval Shnei Dapin. We're not going to go into that. But that's more that has to do with the Ksivas and Mezuzah, which we're not going into right now. Go to the next Gemara, which is Bamar Yehuda Amar Shmuel and Lamagilam at Aleph. But Mezuzah Helech Achar Heker Etzir. By Mezuzah, if you have a door between two rooms, let's say, or two houses or two rooms, you go after the Heker Etzir. So Rashi explains Heker Etzir means it's talking about the Gemara itself says that it's what's Heker Tzir? Avkasa. Rashi says it's the hole in the iskufa, like in the door frame, that the Tzir Hadel Savaba, that the hinge of the door is attached into. So in those days, they would not have the door attached to the actual doorway, the door frame like we do. Rather, they had something protruding out from the door, and a piece of wood protruding out from the door, and there would be a hole in that, and there's another hole in the ground, and you have a bar that goes between those two, and that's the door hinge, and with these two holes. So Rashi is saying, the Gemara is saying that where the hole is, that's the side that you put the mezuzah on. And the Gemara says, Hechidami, what's the example of this? Go in Pischa the Bei Trei Bati, Bein Bei Gavri, the Bei Nashi. It's the Pesach between. So Rashi explains it's talking about you have an entrance into the house, one entrance into the house, and let's see the Rashi. Adam shecholik beso chetzio lehilach anashim hamachazim beso v'chetzio leishto lasas malachta. Yesh Pesach bein zu lezu. There's a doorway between the house for the women, and the women's side and the men's side of the house. There's a side where his wife does all her private stuff in, and then there's the place where everybody else hangs out. Each of these sides of the house has its own opening to the Rishus Harabim. So as far as the entry for the Rishus Harabim, they're the same. The mezuzah has to be on the right, on the way you go in, not the way you go out. So now the middle door, each one has a doorway to the Shusarabim. Now people go into one, go into the other. Which is the main way to go from the men's side to the women's side, or the women's side to the men's side? We don't really know. What's the ikr? So since it's shava b'shava, it's really the same. So you're going to go after with the hole in the lintel and the floor where the door hinges on. That's considered the house and the derech yamin. You go in, and that's the side you put the mezuzah on, on the way the door opens, where the hole is, which shows the way the door opens. And another nakuda, the Meforshim point out, is that the doorway, wherever the hole is, that the door came and it didn't fit inside the door frame. It sort of closed up against the door frame, so it's going to be on that side only. It's going to open out to into that room. So the room that the door opens into, that's called Bais Derech Yamin. Now it's a little bit of a pella. The Shulchan Aruch quotes the Shulchan of Rashi, the Torah of Shulchan Aruch. It sounds like Rashi saying that where the door opens to, that's called the Ikar Bais. And the Shah is mechatesi to say such a thing. Where do you find the door as kaveh, the name of the house? I think Rashi doesn't really mean literally the house. Rashi is referring to, Rashi is like, he's in a sense quoting or embellishing the lesson of the Gemara and Lamed Aleph and Aleph. But there it says Beisecha. You put it on the right of your house because it says Beisecha. My Talmuda Amarabba Derech Biyaska Mina Yamin. Beisecha tells you Derech Biyaska from the right side. So it doesn't really mean it's the house. It means the house in the remez to the word house. The Bais, which is the Derech Bia, which is on the right side. That's what Rashi is really saying. It's the Derech Bia. Now, Rashi and one nakuda of Rashi, which it's not Nagia right now to hear so much, but it'll be Nagia later on. Moshe Feinstein points out in the Tshuva that the fact that even though the side of the women is used a lot less than the men, it's only for her. It's only for his wife on one side and everybody else on the other side. And the way Ramosha learns that the men are going to be going a lot more from their side to greet the wife, whatever, than the shivush of the door, the one wife going to the other side. So if you go by numbers of people, then the ikr would be automatically the way going in from the men's to the women's side. So Ramosha says, we see from here the fact that Rashi still calls it shava v'shava, one doesn't trump the other. We see that it doesn't matter how many people it is per se. As long as each one has a shimush chashuv on either side, then the numbers are buttled to the shimush, and we don't care how many people there are. The fact is that she goes this way, they go that way. It's equal shimush, and it's on the etzim shimush, and therefore it's considered. We don't know which way is the ikr, and that's what we have to go on by the hekrat seer. What we see from Rashi though is that the only time we go by hekrat seer is only when the shavah v'shavah. In other words, when we ourselves on our own right don't have any reason why it's more derech bia one side than the other. But it's clear from Rashi and also the Rush and other Shonim that if you would know for one reason or the other that there's a reason why you mainly use a certain door, let's say from the kitchen to the dining room or vice versa, that the door is mainly there. You can walk back and forth for both, but it's mainly put there to bring food from the kitchen to the dining room. So then there, even though there might not be a hekrat seer or whatever, or even if the hekrat seer might be the opposite, let's say you mainly have a doorway to go from the kitchen to the dining room, not vice versa. And the hekrat seer it opens up into the kitchen. Even so, that would be inconsequential. It wouldn't matter because you already know the derech bia. The Rashi is saying you only use the hekrat seer when you don't know which one is derech bia. They're both the same. Then you go after derech bia. But if it's already derech bia, it's mainly used for one going in one way. Let's take an obvious example. Let's say your front door to your house. If it opens out into we don't usually do that ever, but let's say it would be opening out into the street. So clearly the doorway is there to go into the house, not to go out of the house. That's the ikr. But so the fact that hekrat seer opens out is inconsequential. Heker Tzir is only an afkamina when you don't know, when both are the same. That's what you see from Rashi and Rosh Hashanah. However, the Rambam, when he quotes this halacha, Rambam says in Perek Vav Halacha Yud Aleph, Pesach shebein shnei batim, holchin achar hatzir shel deles, makom shatzir nira imo, sham kovim es mezuzah. If there's a Pesach between two places, you go after the tzir. He doesn't say a word about if it's seven b'shaveh. He doesn't stipulate that it's shaveh b'shaveh. So it's brought down the Shaila and Shuvah Mi'ava, one of the Chashuva Achronim, so Daik from the Rambam. We see Heker Tzir is Kovea even when it's not Shavah V'Shavah. Even if the main Derech Bia might be the other direction, you still go after Heker Tzir. Not like Rashi. So the Shaila is what's in the Kudas HaMachlokas. What would be the Sforah of the Rambam if it is Derech Bia the other way? What would be the Rambam's Sforah? So Macharusa, Shua Schoenfeld, we're learning Mezuzah, he wanted to say very nicely that the Rambam is going the Shitasa. Like we mentioned before, the Rambam Shita is, we'll learn later on why, in the next Gemara, that the Rambam Shita is that to be chayav in a mezuzah, you need, besides a doorway, you need an actual door. The Rambam holds that it's only considered a shar. The Torah says v'sharecha, and the shar is perished b'beisecha. What kind of doors in the house? If they have a shar, the Rambam learns, and he says in the Shuvah, it's only considered a shar when it has a door, an actual door, opening and closing door. Otherwise, it's not called a shar; it's called a pesach. And the Torah is not Machayev Pesach, it's Machayev Shar. So according to the Rambam, that the door itself is not just a stipulation, but it's part of the chelik of the Chalos Chiyuv. Therefore, the Rambam holds that the way the door opens, since that's part of the definition of a doorway, and the way the door opens, then that becomes the Chiyuv. Well, take a step back. According to the Rambam, if there's no door at all, even though you clearly know which way you walk in or out, it's a pater. There's no actual door. So we see how much the door plays a part in this. That's why, according to the Rambam, according to Rashi and other Rishonim, the door is your chayav midaraisa even without an actual door. Just the doorway is chayav. So then that's why derech bia trumps the doorway, the way the door opens. But according to the Rambam, the door is an integral part of the chiyuv. The way the door opens, that's going to be chelik of the mechayev, and that's why it trumps it. But halacha l'maisa, we hold not that way. We hold that that if we do know which way you're going, then we go by Heker Tzir, like Rav Rishonim, not like the Rambam. There's a big shaila in Achronim that, let's say you have a doorway that doesn't have Heker Tzir. It's just an open door that does not have a Heker Tzir, doesn't have an actual door. According to us, that it's chayav midaraisa, but there's no way to determine which way is derech bia. They're mamash shava v'shava. Like Rashi's case, the way Moshe learns it, doesn't matter how many people, whatever, but as long as the shimush is the same one way or the other, but there's no Heker Tzir to tell you the kovea. So what do? Where do you put it? So based on the Yerushalmi, the Shals and Shuvas Shilas Yavitz, that's the Rakim Enden, the son of the Chansi. So he holds that you're going to put two mezuzah up. Or some say, based on the Yerushalmi, or some say you put one, but either side to your side. If you can't tell, then you put it whichever side you want. So Moshe writes at great length to be cholok on the two of them, two studim. And Moshe holds that if there's no way to be kaveya, then it's pashut pater. Since derech bia is a t'nai in the mitzvah deraisa, and you can't establish which way is derech bia because it's shava b'shava, so Moshe holds that it's pater from mezuzah at all. It's a very fascinating psak. I'm not sure how many posts can really go that way, but we usually try to find some way to be koveya if we can, which way is really the derech shimush. But that is a psak of Moshe.
How does he come to that? Generally, don't we normally say if you have a suffix in the mitzius, we normally are machmir, especially if this is a chiyuv d'oraisa according to Rashi.
So Ramosha says that just like you have different tanayim in the chiyuv, like it has to be a doorway. There's different tanayim that has to be chayav. You don't just put it on a wall or something like that. You need a real doorway. So part of the tanayim of the chiyuv which says Beischa, Derech B'Yascha, is there has to be a determination of which way is Derech B'Yah. If it really is no Derech B'Yah in that door, it's Derech Yetzia, just like it's Derech B'Yah. He holds that the Torah was not Machayev such a door. It was this.
So according to Moshe, he's saying that the knowledge of Derech B'Yascha is in itself integral to the mitzvah.
Well, the knowledge meaning that that's what the way it really is used. It's more Derech B'Yah one way than the other. Yeah. That's right. He holds it's an integral part of the mitzvah, and without it, you're a patur, and you can't put a mezuzah there. And he says that he brings down. He says somebody showed him the Shilas Yavitz. Says you put it on both sides, or choose which side you want. He says that's it's no klum, like it's connected to the din. That's what he holds. But I think Rav Poskim will tell you to put it at least to one, put it on one side. To put it on two sides, because that's becomes a shaila baltosif, and some say it's not. It is or not, whether because you do it for suffix, you start entering into shalas of baltosif. But at best, we always try to find a way to determine which way it is. But it is an issue according to Moshe. I want to end off very quickly, just a quick word that we said last week. Why it is that the Rosh Hashanah comes before Yom Kippur, because you need to have first the proper hishkafa of looking at yourself in a positive way before we get to. You have to have vidui maestros, so we have to have a positive the simcha before the tsar and everything. We have to have first the kabbalas malchus and everything before, and to realize that we are on the right team before we get to Yom Kippur and think about negative things. We have to first think about the positive and come from that framework of mind, and then tshuva turns into a positive thing we can really grow from. So I'd like to add one nekuda to that, which is that the Yaris Dvash says that, and Rav used to always quote it, that during this tkufa, when you say the bracha Machaya Mesim in Shemona Esrei, you should have kavana for tshuva. Why is that? Because Chazal say that Rishayim afilu b'chayim ukruya mesim. A Rasha, even while it's alive, is considered a mace. And Rasha doesn't necessarily mean complete Rasha. Like the Gemara says in Sanhedrin, Malikata Paga, Malikata Kula. There could be degrees of Misa and degrees of Chayim. To whatever extent we have anything wrong, we have any rishus in there, any chatzitza between us and the Kadosh Baruch Hu, that's a bechina of Misa. And Mela, if a person does tshuva, if that takes away our averos, that takes away the b'chinas misa, then tshuva is really a type of tchias hamesim. Through tshuva, we actually perform tchias hamesim. We find many various cases in Tanakh and even in Chazal, many cases in Chazal of Elisha and others, or in Chazal, many perform tchias hamesim. We don't find anywhere in Tanakh or in Chazal that the mace brought himself back to life. There's never a koach to bring yourself back to life. Someone else has to do it. Here, this tchias hamesim that we're talking about for tshuva is the yotzei min haklal. This is a tchias hamesim that we do to ourselves. But to do tchias hamesim, that's something that really belongs to a whole other world. It's something that we don't really have the power to do unless we get that power somewhere in the Mila. Mila, I think that the Yisod Davar is that Rosh Hashanah is the day of Brias Adam. It's connected to Brias Adam. We say on the davening, Zayom Tchilas Ma'asecha, Zichron L'Yom Rishon. This is the day of the beginning of your life. This is Zichron L'Yom Rishon, the Zichron of the Brias Adam Rishon, which means that every year on Rosh Hashanah, we become a Bria Chadasha. There's an Isarus Milamayla, and that's the koach of Tkiyah Shofar, that the B'shas Tkiyah Shofar, that on Shema wakes up. At that moment, Hashem, there's a din going on, whether Yivra or Al Yivra, like Adam Rishon, when the Malachim had an argument, Yivra or Al Yivra. So we have that same din going on, and if it's Yivra, then we become a Bria Chadash Mamish. But just like often we find, Rav Dessler always speaks about, based on the Zohar, that there's two levels of Yisarus. There's Yisarusa del Ela, Yisarusa del Tata. First, many times to have the koach, to have an Yisarus Milamata from down here, you need first an Yisarus Milamayla. So in this case as well, I think that's the Pashup shot over here, is that we have Yisarus Milamayla and Rosh Hashanah. We have a Kadosh Baruch Hu from his side, Mitzidoi, he makes us into a Bria Chadasha. And with that power that he gives us as a Bria Chadasha from his side, that's what gives us the koach to go on and make ourselves a Bria Chadasha, to mechadash ourselves through tshuva, in the continuation of the Seres Tshuva onto Yom Kippur. So I think the Yesod Davar is then we have to be thinking about on Rosh Hashanah is our ways that we can make ourselves into a Bria Chadasha. We have to walk away from Rosh Hashanah. We have to capitalize on that koach that Hashem gives us, not allow ourselves to walk away the way we were before. We have to for sure become something new. We have to find that's part of the pshat in the Kabbalah, something you're going to do. A new Kabbalah this new person can't be the same. He has to have something new about him to really be a Bria Chadasha. So we have to think of something to mekabel on ourselves, starting Rosh Hashanah and then through Yom Kippur. And I just want to say that I think that tremendous yasher koach to all of you that have taken out time in your very busy schedules to make this learning a part of your life, because I could think of no greater way to come into Rosh Hashanah and tell Kadosh Baruch Hu, I just took on a new chiyuv of myself. I'm learning the Iyun, Halacha Maisa, the Sukkot Shvaisa, the B'Hilchasa, with Mesiras Nefesh. And if the Kabbalah is to learn this really, really well and really deeply and to really get as much out of it, then we have a gavaldig way right there to be a Bria Chadasha. So Mr. Hashem, it should be tremendous atzlacha. Everybody should be zocha to aksiv l'chsim tova, l'art l'chaim tova l'shalom. We should matzliach to shtag together and to grow together and to spill over. The cup should fill up and spill over to our families and to all of our talmidim and everybody else around us to raise them up with this Talmud Torah that we're doing, and that should bring a nachas ruach Kadosh Baruch Hu and hopefully Mashiach meher v'yameinu.
Thank you.
Kol tov.